听专家解读美国升学方案，看美国学习生活点滴，圆美国名校梦想。本节目由美国文美教育集团冠名播出。
大家好，欢迎收看文美集团美国升学直通车。文美集团美国升学直通车是华人网和文美教育集团联合制作播出的北美首档大型的网络直播教育节目。在我们的节目当中，你将会了解到最新最权威的教育资讯，还有升学的建议。无论你是学生还是家长，有任何的美国升学教育问题，都可以给我们留言。首先还是来给大家介绍一下文美集团。美国文美集团，美国大学申请规划服务第一品牌，20年经验，万博士领衔常春藤顾问团队，中美双顾问模式服务一个学生，按照大学录取学校排名收费，与孩子形成利益共同体。华人老品牌，值得您的信赖。文美集团隆重推出 ACAP 大学专业及职业测评规划管理系统，华人升学机构首创，完美解决华人学生最大升学痛点。人工智能提前锁定大学专业方向，提前2到5年布局申请。有了专业测评系统，孩子的课程规划更清晰，活动更聚焦，文书更有故事感，大学申请更有竞争力。5到11年级学生都可以报名参加测评。文美集团1对1非营利组织成立运营领导力项目，让孩子从参与者变为领导者，真正成长、成人、成才进名校。5到11年级学生均可报名参加。文美集团社会影响力联合国网络义工课程，节省孩子时间，做名校认可的社会影响力，高大上义工。5到11年级学生均可报名参加。今天我们继续邀请到前宾大的招生官，同时也是文美集团规划部文科项目的主管 Miss Mehr 来和我们的华人家长聊一聊藤校招生官是如何来评估学生的简历的，以及如何让自己的活动有特色。下面有请 Miss Mehr。
Hi, welcome to our college counseling seminar. My name is Mehr, and I am so glad you are here today. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. And if you've been watching our series, welcome back. Either way, today's topic is one that I find families consistently get wrong, even when they have done a lot of research on college admissions. We are talking about the activities and the honors section on the Common App. Let me start with a question. If your child has been in debate club for 3 years, volunteers at a hospital on weekends, plays the violin, and is on the school basketball team, does that sound like a strong application? Most parents would say yes. But here is what surprises them. Depending on how those activities are framed, ordered, and described, that list could help the application, or it could actually blend into thousands of other applications that almost look identical. Today I'm going to show you the difference. We are going to cover what these sections actually are, what admissions officers are truly looking for when they read them, how to write the descriptions for your activities list that stand out, and what the honors section is and how to use it strategically. Let's get into it. So why these sections matter more than a lot of people think. We'll start with that. So first, let's establish why we're spending 30 minutes on this. Many parents focus most of their energy on grades, test scores, and the college essay. And those things are important, but here is a statistic that might surprise you. Based on common data set data from the top 60 ranked schools in the United States, 88% of schools rated extracurricular activities as important or very important in their admissions decisions. That puts activities in the same tier of importance as the personal statement and the academic GPA at most selective schools. I'd say extracurriculars make approximately 30% of your college applications weight at the elite universities. According to NACAC, which they say that about nearly half of college admissions officers, approximately 44.3%, consider extracurricular activities moderately to considerably important in evaluating applications, essentially at the very selective schools. So the question here is, why do families underestimate this section? I guess the simple answer would be, it just looks simple. You see 10 blank slots and you think, I will just list what my child does. Or if you're a student, you'd say, I just list what I do, done. But here is what is actually happening on the other side. Admissions officers usually have approximately a minute or two to review your activities list. Given that time constraint, every one of those 150 characters in the description must be crafted wisely. 60 to 120 seconds, that's it. And in those couple of minutes, admissions officers are really trying to answer one question: who is the student outside of the classroom? And what will they bring to our campus community? I'd say your child's activities or your activities list is the answer to that question. And most students answer it in the least strategic way possible, in my opinion. So let me tell you now exactly what admissions officers are evaluating when they read this section, because it is unfortunately not what most families assume. Most families think more activities equals a stronger application. Unfortunately, that is not true. A dense activities list, particularly one that spans multiple unrelated domains, often signals a student who has been strategically assembled rather than authentically developed. And admissions officers notice the difference. So then the question might be, what admissions officers are actually reading for when it comes to the activities list? I would say, firstly, they're looking for depth over breadth. Admissions officers consistently emphasize that long-term commitment to a limited number of activities carries substantially more weight than cursory participation across numerous pursuits. A student who demonstrated dedication to a particular sport, school newspaper, or community service initiative throughout their high school provides a compelling evidence of perseverance, reliability, and genuine passion. In other words, 4 years of serious commitment to one thing is more impressive than 1 year each of 4 different things. Secondly, admissions officers love progression and leadership. Static participation, like being a member of the same club for 4 years with no growth, registers very differently from a demonstrated arc of increasing responsibility. Students who founded or co-founded a club, serving their high school or a surrounding community also really stands out. As one admissions expert puts it, these students show collaboration, care, empathy, and really a desire to make the world truly a better place to live in. And importantly, I do want to emphasize leadership does not always mean titles like title of a president or a captain. Qualitative skills that admissions officers look for include leadership, communication, empathy, organization, teamwork, and time management. These qualities are demonstrated through the type of activities a student engages in, as well as the level of commitment and length of involvement. Thirdly, coherence is very important. The strongest profiles are ones where extracurricular involvement reinforces a central intellectual or personal direction that also shows up in coursework, essays, and recommendations. A student with a genuine biology interest, for example, who conducts independent research, volunteers in a clinical setting, and leads a science-focused team, reads as coherent. A student with the same interest, but let's say is doing theater, robotics, soccer, National Honor Society, reads as assembled. This does not mean your child can only do one type of activity. It means the overall picture should feel a real, curious, and a committed person, not a checklist of things chosen to impress colleges. Because if we do that, the admissions officers really catch that. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time trying to address one of the most persistent myths in college admissions, because I hear it from parents constantly. The idea that colleges want a well-rounded student. Parents often believe that the ideal applicant plays a sport, leads a club, volunteers, and plays an instrument. And so families spend years building exactly that profile for their child. Here is the truth. Top colleges are not really just looking for well-rounded students. They want passionate, purpose-driven leaders. The admitted student profile at top-ranked schools more often looks like a student who has thought carefully about how they want to impact the future. What colleges are building is a well-rounded class made up of students who are each deeply committed to something specific. They want scientists, they want writers, they want athletes, they want community organizers, they want entrepreneurs. What they do not want is 100 versions of a student who did a little bit of everything without going deep in anything. Extracurricular activities are evaluated on a spectrum, and higher levels of involvement and achievement in an activity carry significantly more weight. Activities that receive national or international recognition, participation in highly selective programs, and leadership roles in high-impact organizations all stand at the top of the spectrum. So the question to ask your child is not what else should I join? The question is, what do I care about enough to go deeper? And if you're a student watching this, I would ask this question to yourself. Now, let me walk you through what this a little bit on the structure on the activities section on Common App. The US schools, as we already know and I've said gazillion times, use Common App. And within that, they have a dedicated activities section. The Common App activities section gives students up to 10 slots. For each activity, you have 50 characters for the position or leadership title, 100 characters for the organization name, and 150 characters to describe what you actually did in the activity. You also indicate which grade levels you participated, how many weeks per year, and how many hours per week you spend. And there is a checkbox asking you whether you intend to continue this activity in college, which is worth checking when true because it signals genuine long-term commitment. Now, 150 characters. A lot of times I've had students and parents confuse that with 150 words. It's not 150 words, 150 characters. This is shorter than a tweet. It's barely enough space for 2 full sentences. And it is where most students waste their most valuable real estate on the entire application. Here is what most students write in that space. They say something like, I'm a member of the school debate club and I enjoy competing in tournaments. That tells an admissions officer almost nothing. Compare that to if you compare that to a very strong entry, coached 8 junior members, led team to regional finals, designed practice curriculum used by 3 partner schools. So it's the same activity, but kind of leaves a completely different impression. So I'd say the formula is simple. Action plus specificity, plus impact equals a strong entry. So the biggest piece of advice that I have is focus on what you actually did, not really on what the organization generally does, because that's not something the admissions officers want to know in the description. I'd say begin each description with a different action verb, words like led, organized, managed, founded, designed, coached, and impact immediately. List your most impressive and relevant activities near the top. In the event that the admissions officers only skim your activities page, the first few items really need to be super compelling and should be connected to your intended major interests as well, if possible. And I would say avoid adding complete sentences to the description. Use short, punchy phrases separated by semicolons. And remember, every character counts because you only have 150 characters to write the description. Now, I will spend a few minutes on what counts as an activity. Because in my opinion, it is one of the most liberating things I tell families, and it consistently surprises them. Most parents assume that only school-sanctioned formal activities count, like a debate club, student government, sports teams, but that is far from the truth. Admissions officers understand that students live full lives outside of the academic settings, and they always take that into consideration. As one admissions expert says, if a student is working after school or taking care of family responsibilities, that effort is important. We know that not every effort comes with a certificate or a trophy. Admissions officers also remember things like being an awesome big brother as an extracurricular, explaining how, like, what kind of impact you created. And you if you can show traits like compassion, reliability, leadership, and character through an activity, most certainly add that. Part-time jobs, caregiving responsibilities, self-taught skills, starting with a YouTube channel, starting with a small business, community leadership, independent research, all those are valid activities. So yes, non-school activities count. Whether you're sorting food at a local food bank, babysitting, playing in a band, selling artwork online, you're building skills that college admissions may want to hear about. Yes, add them to your activities list. Now I'm going to move to the honors section, since we have spent quite a good amount of time talking about the activities. In my experience, this is the most consistently overlooked section in the entire application. Families rush through it, underestimate it, and unfortunately sometimes fill it incorrectly. The honors section is located under the education tab of the Common App. It lets applicants list up to 5 honors or awards earned from 9th grade onward. It really allows colleges to see not just your child's grades, but how they performed compared to peers at the school, state, or national level. Each entry asks for 3 things: the name of the honor, the grade level when it was received, and the level of recognition. So whether it was a school level award, state or regional, national, or international. Data from the Common App's annual report shows that students who include credible honors are most likely to have competitive applications, because this really signals dedication and selectivity. 2 qualities admissions officers look for in academic performance. I've been asked this question a ton in the past: what counts as an honor? The definition is broader than most students and parents realize. Examples could include research papers and journal articles that may have gotten published, awards and prestigious academic competitions such as math Olympiads, science fairs, school-wide awards, sports and athletic awards, art awards, etc. Well-known national awards like National Merit Scholar or AP Scholar are worth including, but always aim to include more unique and selective honors first, since the National Merit and AP Scholar appear very frequently in this section and are unlikely on their own to distinguish the student. The most important ordering rule, in my opinion, would be obviously lead with the most impressive ones, the most competitive and most widely recognized honors, and then you can move on to awards that are more regional or local level. And I do also want to emphasize on a common mistake that we should be avoiding. A lot of times, students only include honors that recognize genuine achievement, that they just feel like kind of they're including, but in a lot of ways it may not be true. I mean, a perfect attendance award or a participation certificate should not really belong to this section. I would also say that diluting this section with weak entries undermines the credibility of the truly significant ones. Instead of just adding 5 honors for the sake of it, I would say it is better to have 3 strong honors than 5 mediocre ones. And now I'm going to move a little bit further and going to the descriptions for the honors. The final point on the honor section is especially important for families from outside of the US or whose families have won awards through local or regional organizations, then that an American admissions officer would not recognize. In order for brief descriptions to be as impactful as possible, I would say quantify the value of the award to the greatest degree possible, include the technical qualification for the honor, the number of students in the pool from which honorees were selected, and the number who received the award. This is especially helpful for local awards that admission committees will be less familiar with. So an example would be, instead of writing City Mathematics Award grade 11, write something like City Mathematics Award, top 3 of 800 participants. Now when the admissions officers read it, they would immediately understand what they're looking at and how selective it was. The other thing I would highlight is that avoid abbreviations unless they are universally recognized. An admissions officer at a US university has no idea what a local acronym, award acronym stands for. And I would also say that use the character limit to give the full context, not shorthand that only your school community understands. I want to close with something concrete. I know that after a session like this, parents often want to know, what can I actually do to help my child? I would say, you can help with the brain dump. So sit down together and list absolutely everything that your child has done since 9th grade. Clubs, sports, jobs, family responsibilities, competition, independent projects, self-taught skills, online courses, etc. Do not filter. The goal should be to only write everything on the paper. Secondly, you can help with sorting by depth and impact. So then once you've done the brain dump, now look at the list and ask 2 questions for each item. First, how much time did my child genuinely invest in this over their high school years? And second, is there a moment of leadership, a measurable impact or clear progression to talk about? I'd say quantify impact wherever possible. Did your child help in increasing the membership? Did the child lead a team? Serve a number of people? So always try to use numbers because they allow admissions officers to really understand exactly what was accomplished. And the third thing that I would say where you can help is the narrative check. Step back and look at the list as a whole. Ask, does this tell a coherent story about my child? Or if you are the student in this case, ask this question to yourself. And is it really telling the story and something that you genuinely care about? Or does it look like a collection of impressive surrounding commitments with no clear thread? as mentioned earlier, the strongest profiles are really the ones where extracurricular involvement reinforces a central intellectual or personal direction that also shows up in coursework, essays, and recommendation. Coherence is really what separates a profile that reads as authentic from one that reads as assembled. If the list feels scattered, do not panic. There is still time to go deeper in activities that matter the most. Depends on what grade level you are in, but but hopefully there is time. And if you are already a rising senior, in that case, I would say the description themselves can do a lot of the connectivity work. The way you frame what you did can transform a scattered list into a coherent story. So here is the big idea I want you to leave with today. The activities list and the honors section are not a resume. They are not a checklist. They are a curated, strategic argument made in 150 characters per line for why you or your child belongs in the class that college is building. The truly impressive extracurricular record stands out because it is a record of a student's passion, not a list of hobbies. Genuine passion, of course, cannot be faked. It shows in the time and energy you dedicate to an activity, and in the imagination and creativity, and also in the way that you engage. I would say it's important that we approach this section very strategically, not by adding more activities, but by going deeper into the right ones and really describing them with precision. You should really think the activities that I am adding, are they telling the admissions officers a story that they would actually remember? I think this is all that I have for today. I really hope this session was helpful and gave you some clear next steps and some ideas there. See you next time. Take care. Bye for now.
感谢 Miss Mehr 今天和我们的分享啊！你有任何的问题呢，都可以直接来咨询文美集团。美国文美集团，美国大学申请规划服务第一品牌，20年经验，万博士领衔常春藤顾问团队，中美双顾问模式服务一个学生，按照大学录取学校排名收费，与孩子形成利益共同体。华人老品牌，值得您的信赖。文美集团隆重推出 ACAP 大学专业及职业测评规划管理系统。华人升学机构首创，完美解决华人学生最大升学痛点。人工智能提前锁定大学专业方向，提前2到5年布局申请。有了专业测评系统，孩子的课程规划更清晰，活动更聚焦，文书更有故事感，大学申请更有竞争力。5到11年级学生都可以报名参加测评。文美集团1对1非营利组织成立运营领导力项目，让孩子从参与者变为领导者，真正成长、成人、成才进名校。5到11年级学生均可报名参加。文美集团社会影响力联合国网络义工课程，节省孩子时间，做名校认可的社会影响力，高大上义工。5到11年级学生均可报名参加。感谢您今天的收看，我们下次再见。